Okay, here we are back for part 2 of kind of my story, my journey with God. So this is the part where I warm back up to God, because the last one was about me just getting turned off to God. But during those 7 years where I wanted nothing to do with God, I was very cynical. I never stepped foot in a church on my own. For all that time, I actually, if I had to go to church for some obligatory reason, like I would drag my feet in and sit there like this with my arms crossed the whole time, just debating with the pastor, arguing in my head the whole time about everything that they were saying, because I thought Christians were kind of dumb, like, or stupid. I thought they didn't critically think. I thought they were just hyped up on emotions and these sheep not using their brains. Is really honestly what I thought. Meanwhile, I'm in this relationship. It was for 7 years total, and we broke up different times throughout the relationship. Broke up, but like, we didn't stop sleeping together, so like, are you really broken up? I don't know. I don't think so. But this was on and off, but we were still always kind of together. About 4 years in, we had a really bad breakup, and we were not together for a few months. I'll just put it this way: we shouldn't have been together, but we were, and we got officially back together a little while after that, and we moved in together, and we lived together for about a year, a little over a year. I thought it was good for a while. It was okay. It was better. Now looking back, I'm like, that's a joke. What were you settling for? But at the time, I thought it was okay, and then things progressively got worse. I got to a point where I just remember feeling so hopeless, not even about relationships, but just about life. Like, I was so hopeless. Like, relationships are effing hard. They're not even worth it. I didn't look forward to the future. I didn't look forward to marriage, kids, nothing. And I've written this in the past a little bit. I wasn't ever suicidal, but I remember thinking, I don't know how to get out of this. I would try all the time, because in my gut, I really sensed that it wasn't right. And I tried a lot of times to bring it up. I was never strong enough to follow through with that, but I did always sense that and feel that. And so I felt like I had kept trying and trying and trying and trying to get out of this relationship without it working. And so I got to a point where I was just at my wit's end, and I thought, well, it'd be really great if something could take me out. Like, I just didn't even want to live, because I was so sick of just the cycle. So in the fall of 2016, I went and visited my sister in Minneapolis, and they went to church on Sunday. Like I just mentioned, I didn't really want to go, but I had to go because they were going. And the sermon was actually like an interview kind of style sermon with this guy, this author, Bob Goff, and the pastor. And if you guys know Bob Goff, he is incredible. I just fell in love with him. I was like, he's so charismatic and fun-loving and so sweet. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I actually got something out of this. Like, this is the first time I sat in church and I unfolded my arms and I actually enjoyed this. And I was just remember being really surprised by that. And then we get to praise and worship, and they're singing at the end, and I remember this heaviness coming over me. Like, it was so thick. Like, I could just feel something. And I remember sensing so strongly, your relationship needs to end. And I literally sat there, because like I said, I was so exasperated at this point. And I was like, I get it, right? Like, I know, I tried, okay? I just feel so stuck. Out of total exasperation, I just said, okay, God, you take care of this and I'll give you my life. And I kind of like laughed in my head. Like, I'm not gonna give God my life, but sure. I kind of have nothing to lose at this point. I really didn't. So I get home, and I kid you not, it was like one thing after the other of perfectly timed events happened, where it's almost like God took my hand and he just walked me up the stairs out of that relationship. And within 2 weeks, we were like officially broken up. I was moved out of the apartment. It seems simple, but it was not at all, because all of a sudden I got home, I had this precise clarity: this needs to end. And I began to work through and understand the manipulation that was going on, and I could see so clearly that the relationship was not serving either of us, and that it was very unhealthy and it needed to end. And there were so many moments through that I almost buckled and I couldn't follow through. And every single time something happened that was so perfectly timed, and it was a text or a person or even my mom inviting me to this conference. I was so surprised that happened. I could not believe I was out. I was like, I'm out. Oh my gosh, this is official. This is it. What? Like, I could not believe it. This is something I'll share in the next video, but one of the big things too that I was so shocked by is that I all of a sudden realized, not only did I have such clarity that we needed to break up and it was unhealthy for both of us to stay together, but also I knew we need to stop having sex. And we did. And that is not some small thing, because I had never said no to sex once, I don't think ever. And then all of a sudden I just like could refuse it and like not do it, and I knew why. And it wasn't like I didn't want it, I knew it was not good. It needed to be cut off in order to solidify the breakup. So I was just dumbfounded at the end of this. I was so ecstatic, and I remember saying, okay, God, I literally put my hands, I was like, okay, God, I don't understand you. I still have a lot of questions and walls. I am not all in, but you're real, and I'm gonna discover who you are for myself from scratch. Not anything I knew in the past, not church that I knew before. God, who are you to me? And I started that, and I committed to start that journey after that. This is the key, and this is what I want to emphasize. God has to be personal to you. Like it has to be something that is your own. It's not something that someone tells you. Your relationship with God should be a personal discovery process. When I said, okay, God, I think you're real. Actually, I know you're real because I am out of that thing. I know you're real, but I'm gonna discover who you are. And I said, I will not take in anything that I was supposed to not do, that I knew before as rules or whatever. I said, I'm not gonna change any of my lifestyle, any of my actions, anything, because if I don't value something, I'm not gonna keep it. And so I literally said, I'm gonna live the same. If I feel convicted or I feel like I need to put boundaries in place as I'm discovering who you are, great, I'll do it. But I was so firm on the fact that I was not going to bring in anything I knew before into my idea of who God was. So I want to focus on this a little bit more in the future, but it took me years of bumping around after that to figure out what I really believed, who God was to me, and what boundaries I needed to put in place in my life. But the thing I want to focus on with this video is that literally by opening the door that tiny crack, it's like God took that half-hearted invitation. It was like, girl, I'm gonna save the day for you. And he really did. And so, I mean, I just want to encourage you, like, if there's any area of your life where you're feeling exasperated, like, give God a tiny crack and see what happens, because you literally have nothing to lose and so much to potentially gain. And I'm speaking from experience, right? Like, I have no agenda or no motive to make this kind of video and share my story and put myself out here like this. It's not that fun. You know, trust me, I don't really want to just talk about this stuff with this camera in my face. It's kind of uncomfortable and weird, and I'm, it's stretching me a little bit. But I care so much about people, and I want them to be healthy and free and walking boldly in their purpose. And to be completely honest, I really don't think you can do that fully. Like, I don't think you can live a huge, big, bold, beautiful, robust, thriving life without God. Like, you're just settling. And so that's why I share my story. That's why I tell you, because I can compare the two. I've been in both camps and I really can compare the two. So whatever it takes to break those walls down, I'm sharing my story because I had to do it, and I know a lot of people do, to have to personalize God for themselves. But it is so worth it. It is so worth it. It is the best decision I have ever made. Ever made. I love my life. I'm so grateful and content and at peace and full of joy and passion and energy and fire for what I get to do on this earth, and to be able to step into what I know God created me to do. So the next video, I'm gonna focus more on behaviors. We're gonna I know I tabled the sex talk for this one, but we're gonna bring that back in. Sex, hooking up, all that kind of stuff. Thanks for the time you spent watching this video. We'll see you next time. We'll see you